Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to 1% Better, where we take a look at hidden stories in sport. I'm Xylon Entrekin, and I'm joined, as always, by Dr. David Lipman. Your medical question today is, what is the hardest substance in the human body?
It's either like bone or like one of the types of bone, non-spongy bone. So what is that? Cortical bone, or it is maybe it's dentine on the teeth. Yeah,
Tooth
it's dentine.
enamel.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, sorry, it's enamel, not dentine. But yeah,
What's
close.
the
Not bad.
difference? Not bad.
Uh well, mate. Again, if you pick the niche areas, I'll tell you now. If you want to catch me out, eyes, skin, teeth, like all these areas that like are very specialist, I will not know. I'll promise.
I'm sure
Hair,
the listeners are annoyed with me because they want more interesting questions related to physiology and exercise and learn something. But my goal is just to catch you out. That's my
yeah,
goal.
well, I gave you the cheat code there, mate. So those areas. I don't know. I know enough to be like very little. I know dentine exists. I know like enamel's there, but yeah, I don't. I'm not going any further, mate.
Here's a question for you. Are dentists real doctors?
Well, they didn't go to medical school. They're dentists.
They did or they didn't?
They didn't. They're dentists. It's dental
What?
school's different.
Why do they have to? Why can't they get doctor in front of their name?
Well, you can get a doctor for a PhD.
True, true. I told the story on the pod before of a friend who was on a
Yeah.
flight where they were like, "Can we? We're looking for a doctor," and he went up front, and they came back. It's like, "Oh no, they look for a medical doctor."
There was a girl I was courting as a young man, briefly, and her dad said to me, it was when I was studying podiatry, and he goes, "Oh, he's not a real doctor. He's just a podiatrist," which is from Seinfeld. Which is very funny in America, but in Australia, like it doesn't make any sense because podiatry is an undergraduate. And I was like, yeah, I'm just a podiatrist. I'm just like, I'm studying at university. He's like, no, but you're not a real doctor. I'm like, yes, I'm not. So then I went
Oh,
on to study medicine later for the American listeners. So in Australia, it's an undergraduate qualification. But anyway, let's get on to the stuff, mate. We've got a big episode today. We've got an enormous episode. So first and foremost, thank you to Rachel Entrekin for joining us. The episode and her ability to talk is almost as long as the race she's going to do, which is unbelievable. We do apologize to listeners up front. We lost some video. We won't go into it, but the audio is there and it is great. Rachel was amazing. We appreciate her joining us on behalf of Precision Fuel and Hydration. So thank you. Keep an eye on Rachel during the race because it'll be amazing. I think there's also a sneaky announcement that's coming in and around that. So keep an eye on that as well. She's going to be using a ton of Precision Fuel and Hydration products. And so if you want to be like Rachel, you can either follow links in the show notes to get a full plan made for you via their website or indeed book a call with one of their sports scientists. All of those are obligation free. And then similarly, those codes, if you follow them, will have already applied this, or you can use the code BETTER2026, and that will give you 15% off your first order. That is better in all caps.
You gave me some really good advice earlier today when we were talking. And I was thinking this would actually be valuable for the podcast. I've been sick the last few days, so didn't do any of my rehab work. My lower back has been really tight and really sore and really inflamed. Luckily, no nerve pain, but mostly just at the site of the operation. And I've just had the man flu and feeling very, very miserable for myself. So not motivated to do any of the rehab workouts at all. I did start up again at gym today and already felt much better. And you were saying there might be benefit to, even when not feeling well, to do some kind of movement.
Yeah. So, firstly, thoughts and prayers to Wendy for your man flu. But yeah, so part of like the first thing, motion is lotion, and exercise almost helps everything. Caveats up top, handy, like useful tool there. If you're in a rehab phase doing something and you're sick and unwell, it's worthwhile, or you're worried about something, managing something. So, for a good example is me, it's important that I don't deload my tendons because they're not going to respond well. They're still in a rehab phase, so I should keep my tendon loading. It may not need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be exactly the perfect prescription as per, Aiden, my physio, every week, 3 times a week. But if I'm not going to, I should do something just to keep it loaded a little bit. So, if I'm going to go away and I don't have access to a gym or something, like I should do something to keep some variety of loading. It's important to remember that the Pareto principle applies here. The first 20% of what you do gives you 80% of the benefits. So something is way better than nothing, right? So I said to you, you're like, I didn't feel well, so I didn't do any gym stuff, but my back was sore. I was like, well, your back was probably sore because it's not neurological pain. It's probably sore because you haven't been moving much, right? Because remember that rehab and exercise sends descending inhibition signals. Basically, it dulls down the pain. Of course you can do too much, and it's too much because you can annoy the site, but movement generally helps pain, right? And exercise generally helps pain. So there is some value in it. I said to you, in your context, if you're a little bit unwell and you can't go to the gym or don't want to go to the gym, then maybe it's 80% of the exercises at 80% of the reps for 80% of the intensity, something like that, where it's just you cut a little bit of the amount of exercises, the number of reps, and how heavy they are. Like cut a little bit of all that out and then just do something. Again, it's just about movement, a little bit of movement. So if you're a runner, this might be walking or riding a bike in the gym, something like that. But again, low heart rates and that. And again, it depends on how sick you are. And there's lots of context here. Again, I wrote a recent newsletter article with previous guest Peter Tierney on this. So, there is a thing there about how to make decisions around being sick that I'll throw in the show notes. So that might help a little bit as well.
What's been going on with you? I heard you've been trialing something interesting, courtesy of Mario Frioli, previous guest on the podcast newsletter.
Yeah, well, he wrote the newsletter about like basically going out headphoneless running, that sort of stuff, and not having that stimuli. And listen, for the longest time, I ran before you could run with headphones. I ran when there was a Discman and it didn't even have enough like anti-skip that it was a problem. So like I'm used to running long distances sans anything, right? So I only started listening to podcasts and music and stuff on my runs very late in the piece. I'd never done it and never really done it with intensity until a little while ago. So I'm not scared of this, but I thought, it's a good prompt. I'll go back and do it again. Now, the reason I started, or one of the things I noticed when I started doing this, particularly podcasts, is they slow me down. So podcasts actually slow me down. For the same RPE and heart rate, maybe not heart rate, but the same RPE, I'll be running a lot slower, which is helpful for my Achilles. And I went out on Saturday and ran Sounds headphones, and it was quite a bit faster. I think I was running closer to 4:30s than 5s, minute Ks, that is. And so, yeah, that wasn't great for the Achilles. It was okay, but it wasn't perfect. And then the next day I went back to Richmond Park, which is, big park near here, which has got a lot more hills. And again, I've been running flat almost exclusively recently. And that, between those two things, the Achilles wasn't 100% on Monday. So firstly, you don't move two variables at once. That was kind of silly. But also I think the big thing was the intensity for me. So I'm going to not run without headphones for a while. I'll throw some more podcasts in. So
We have done a deep dive previously on the performance enhancing benefits of using music. So if there are any new listeners here, search for it. You'll find it in our library. By the way, if you are new, we'd appreciate if you subscribe to this podcast. It really, really helps us. You can see the caliber of guests we're starting to get on, like Rachel Entrekin, big, big winners. That really, your subscription really helps us when we speak to people like that. Also, when we speak to sponsors like Stride, Running Power Meters, they're a long-time partner to this podcast. We're going to talk about Boston Marathon that just happened in a little while. But did you notice anyone at Boston using Stride?
yeah, quite a few actually, and they've put out posts of some of their data, which is quite cool to see. So Dakota Popine, who is one of the top American, she wasn't. She was, I can't remember where she came in the American field, but she was in the top 20. Charlie Lawrence, who ran a huge PR there. He's an ultra runner, come down to the marathon, which is cool. And previous guest Allison, her surname is eluding me, Lynch, her partner, which is cool. Clayton Young, who is, I think, I don't know where he came either. I can't remember off the top of my head. Sorry, this is we've got all these results later. And then also Angus from Stride. So Angus is
cool.
who we deal with from Stride. So he's he ran really well in Boston as well. So he'd be stoked there. So we've got some of those results coming later. But thank you to Stride for their support of the podcast. Go check out the data. Obviously, Angus's data isn't there. But the elite athletes data is there to look at. A lot of really interesting stuff from a lot of stuff looking at left to right balance, those sort of things in terms of both ground contact times, impact loading rates, that sort of thing. So lots to dissect there.
Let's get to throw some community shoutouts. Like you mentioned, this is a massive episode. We've got loads to get to. The first one is an apology to Pedro Almeida. I called him Pablo on the podcast last week.
Blasphemous.
That was your fault. You sold me down the river. You put Pablo in the document and it didn't click to me that it was Pedro. Apologies,
okay,
Pedro.
Okay, Ron Burgundy.
OGs will get that reference.
Yeah. Tobias Schmidt, friend of the podcast, he raced the Swiss Trail Championships and it was 50K with 2,500 meters of vert. And I think that's just 4 hours 40. Yeah, I hit the wrong button there. So that was 4 hours 40 for 13th overall and 12th Swiss man. So congratulations, Tobias. That's a really good run there.
Very impressive. Eloise Delois, previous guest on this podcast, she got fourth in the 70.3 in Martinique, which sounded like it was some hard race, probably one of the toughest she's ever done. Shout out to Hishan Barner, who completed Ironman South Africa. He did really, really well, not only because he was on my bike, but because he actually trained really well for it. He was in great shape, so well done, Hishan. And Jakob Younger went 2:17 in
Sorry,
Leipzig
I think
Marathon.
that's
Is it Lange?
Langer. Yeah, I
Okay,
think so. I
yeah,
think I
yeah.
mistyped that. My apologies. Again, Ron Burgundy over here. But 2:17 in Leipzig Marathon is unbelievable. That's great running, Jakob. So great stuff there. We also had James Lammers set a new PB at Vancouver Sunrun. He ran 31:36 for 10K there. Alex Harris also set a new PB, 2:48:48 in Manchester. That is exactly 4-minute kilometers. 2:48:48 is exactly 4 minutes a kilometer. And his with perfect pacing, his halfway split was 1:24:38. So it's a nice little negative split there. Really well done by a handful of seconds. So I know I know what that feels like, Alex. That is tough running and great stuff. So awesome work there. And then, of course, Marco Altini, friend of the podcast, previous guest, he got 16th out of 5,000 in the Tuscany Crossing, 53K, which had 1,500 meters of elevation. He went 4:43, which is super impressive. He's in great shape for Pastore, and he's just put up some really interesting stuff looking at pacing with different heart rate zones. I just saw him throw on social media. So I would follow his Substack if you're interested in training. It's really good stuff there.
Also, shout out to Scott Cranshaw, who did the Las Olas Olympic Triathlon. Also, Frank O'Carroll, who did the Railway Run, 25K in 1:37. Vasily Pirmitin did Ipia, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, 10K in 33:49. And then a big, big shout out to Matthew Marquardt, friend of the podcast, who won Ironman African Championships, the men's race, in a new course record, 7:42, beating Magnus Ditlev's previous record there. I was lucky enough to be part of that. Matthew, I saw him a few times here last week, helping him out a bit, gave him some splits on the bike and the run, and we enjoyed the awards dinner together last night. So it's super cool to spend time with him and super cool to see him come out on top, man, big time.
You know what they say, mate? Success has many fathers, failure is an orphan.
Of course, of course.
So, but on to Boston Marathon. Our CMO, Spencer Lauderbeck, he ran 3:05 there, paced it super well. Really good effort off minimal running. So he's had plantar fasciitis. He's been doing a lot of work on the elliptical. That is a real headache. So yeah, great work, Spencer. That's tough running there. Really well done. Christian Trumperdach, who we've been following there, he got 95th and ran 2:23 there, which is flying for Christian. Actually beat previous guest and Petter Engdahl, who had a real tough day. He ran 2:23 also. He came 102nd, so only a handful of places behind, although they wouldn't have been anywhere near each other because Petter started in the elite field. But he had blisters and some interrupted training. I heard from him. He said, yeah, he actually put a photo up on his Instagram of the blisters. Was that they were real, but yeah, some real interrupted training leading in, so that's not great. But then Eaton Seagrave as well ran 2:37 there, which was great. Lisa Waitman, previous guest that we talked about, we're going to have more later, but she ran 2:32 to come 22nd. And then the aforementioned Angus from Stride ran 2:37 there as well. So really, I think he would have been right near Eaton. They wouldn't have known, or maybe they do know each other. I don't think so. But yeah, they did really well there to run 2:37. And then onto some stuff that was in our Strava group. So join our Strava group if you aren't there. There's lots happening there at the moment. There's a new meme by your friend Pedro Almeida.
Pablo.
Threw one in there today. Yeah. Threw one in there today about Strava's AI, which not so intelligent. But Emmanuel Katsanis, who we have labeled the Chief Data Officer or Chief Statistics Officer for our podcast, threw some stuff in there. I think this was around me talking about how easy or hard it is to qualify for Boston. And me saying that it's a lot easier as you age. And he threw up the top 5 age and average times, so for top 5 finishes, with respect to age, graded percentage, and then looking at what the times were and what percentage they were age graded. And basically, this comes out to, like, if you look at it, you start to see that the earlier finishes did better, but I think that's a bit of an outlier. I think you have to look in the middle patches there, and it's pretty consistent at 88%. And then it dwindles a little bit. But then he threw in, after that, I said, that's interesting, thank you. And then he put in another one. He said, looking at qualifying times and the delta of the top 5 finishes between that and their qualifying times. And if you look at that, you start to see that the biggest delta was in the 60 to 60, so the 60 to 64, and then the 65 to 69 age group, which I think makes sense because we can maintain, or at least we can either improve or maintain endurance capacity as we age a little bit, and then it does start to dwindle with some age when we get to the 70s. So that makes some sense there. And then if you look at, he then put in average age graded percentage of each based on qualifying time. And again, that's sort of 50 to 60 ranges by far there. So, anyway, it's interesting stuff, worthwhile digging through. It's not good for podcasts. We do appreciate it, Emmanuel. We've actually got some other stuff coming from him soon that he sent through to us on email. So we appreciate all that and appreciate the input. So jump into Strava, join us there, share your runs. We'll give you shout outs and all that stuff.
Should we go through some Spotify comments? I'm really loving the engagement that's happening there. If you do listen to this pod on Spotify, please leave a comment or a question for us. We'd love to get back to you. Alaska Matt commented, "Great chat. Sounds like the calf raise discussion was based around standing/straight knee variations. I'm curious about whether there's been any benefit demonstrated to using seated/bent knee variations to emphasize work done by the soleus as opposed to the gastroc." Do you have comments on that?
Yeah, well, firstly, great pronunciation, mate. Done well there. Those aren't easy words. I'm not even taking the piss and being serious, so well done. I sort of responded on the platform, but I thought this was helpful for everybody because it's not something that we were explicitly clear with Kim and I, so I think it's helpful. So we have two main calf muscles, the gastrocnemius and the soleus. The gastrocnemius, or the gastroc, crosses the knee. Collectively, these muscles are known as a triceps surae, and that's because the gastroc has two heads. So anyway, gastroc crosses the knee. So there's some thoughts that if we bend the knee because it crosses it, it reduces the amount of work that the gastrocnemius does, increasing the work the soleus would do. And the soleus is the big one that is really active with running. It takes a lot of the load there. So this is where Kim's work was focused on, and she showed that bending the knee didn't really make a difference to the amount of work that the gastrocnemius did. So again, as we talked about, there's sort of this balance between advocacy and science. So if you're only going to do one thing, just do some calf raises, whether you want to bend your knee a bit or whatever, fine, whatever. But in short, if you do want to eliminate the work of the gastroc, you can bend your knee to 90 degrees where it really shortens it and can really limit its work, and then you will get a lot more soleus work. It's a lot harder to load that up. There are some calf raise machines that allow you to do this, but other than that, it's quite hard to do this. But if you really want to do it, then there's probably some benefit here. If you've got the access and the willingness to do it, then there's probably some marginal gains to be had there.
A couple of other shout-outs to get through on Spotify. Josh Rogenkamp said, "Great episode. Always enjoy listening to you guys. Thanks for the shout-out." Well, you'll have to comment that again, Josh.
I was going to say, it's a perpetuating problem now.
Yeah, it's a loop. We're on a loop. Matt said, "I don't think the female 400-meter world record holder was a female. Great listen, fellas." Do you know what that's referring to? I saw you reply to him.
Yeah, so if you look at, so we were talking about Keely Hodgkinson running a 400 meters, and I said the world record, and then I mentioned that Sydney McLaughlin-Levroni got really close to it. If you go back, it's one of the oldest standing world records. It's an East German runner, I believe. And yeah, if you go back and look and read some of the commentary around it, there's some questions about potential performance-enhancing drug use, which I think are not so controversial in terms of the questions. So I think that's what Matt's referring to there, is that she was quite masculine in many ways. I think using some testosterone perhaps. So that's, I think, what he's referring to there. We also got a comment from Louise Blair, who then said, I set the data and I sort of included it and said, "I hope she doesn't mind." And she said, "Of course she doesn't mind. Really glad she found it interesting, and thanks for the mention." She also said she needs to update the analysis because there were some high rocks world records run over the weekend in Warsaw. So 51.59 for men and 54.25 for women. And she thinks the men's are going to go sub 50 relatively soon, and she definitely needs to improve her running. I think sub 50 would be interesting. I think some of this, part of the challenges, and we talked about this before, in high rocks, is standardization. And I think there's some questions around, as there always is, friction in the sleds and maybe run distances. So yeah, I won't say too much there, but when everyone runs really well and world records are broken and all that stuff, you start to question it to some degree as to why. And we'll talk about that with Boston as well. So yeah.
We also got a comment in from Gabriel Buono Ayoki, who said, "Hi, Dr. David. I hear about your Achilles and resonates with me. I've had issues while running with plushy shoes like the Hoka, as well as generally all new ones with high stack. On top of the appealing to vintage and buying old models, I have seen two sports physiotherapists that promoted an interesting protocol that is helping me. I'm glad to share. Easy to apply and does not require much. Write me if you're interested. Would be happy to share it with you. I was in touch with you when you were visiting Prague recently.
Yeah, so super helpful, Gabriel. I'll reach out to here because I'm interested more than anything else. But this doesn't surprise me when you hit a highly cushioned shoe, your body creates more stiffness. So it doesn't surprise me that those flare up his Achilles a little bit. I'm not sure if that's why mine is flared. I don't think so. I think it's a lot of other factors, but I definitely enjoy a more firm shoe on the spectrum. Always have. That's just the way
I've
I am.
I've been thinking about this. Listen, I know you are cheap. You just need new shoes. You're probably running in old shoes. This is probably the problem. Am I right?
I actually just got a couple new pairs. So
I used
no,
to tease you actually about how many pairs of running shoes you had when we started
yeah,
this podcast. Now I'm doing the
yeah.
opposite.
Now it's done. Now I've only got a couple. So yeah, but we've also got Corrections Corner. It's here again. So an email from Andrew Mendelson. We appreciate them. We appreciate the corrections. We appreciate the engagement. We do check the email. Maybe not as frequently as we should, but we do. So hi guys, love the pod and look forward to it every week. A small comment: while Candice Burt does hold the record per Guinness for consecutive ultras, it's worth noting that New Zealander Shannon Lee Litt is apparently on day 800 plus of consecutive ultras and will presumably submit
Whoa.
to Guinness once the streak ends. Kind regards, Andy. This happened to
Wow.
Candice as well, so it doesn't surprise me that she's yet to be recognised, but will be soon. So good to hear that. Well, thank you for that as well. And then also want to just shout out everyone running London. Similar to what we did with Boston, if you're running London, please send us a DM so that we can follow you along, give you a shout out in the pod. The only one we know of at the moment is Tom Wallace. So good luck, Tom. Enjoy running. And we'll be following. I've already got my app downloaded. He's already locked in there to follow along. So thank you.
Right, let's move along to what's come across my desk this week. Some quick bits to get through. Where to start? Only one place, I guess. Boston Marathon.
It's the best week of the year, mate. We got the Boston London double in 1 week. Thankfully, our episode drops before London. So, yeah, I think, listen, I'll start off with some stuff. The commentators in the UK were diabolical. Anybody who's listening that knows anyone to do with the production team at Warner Brothers TNT, tell them to call me. I'll help. I'll help for free. They didn't know the course. They said they were on Boylston when they were on Hereford. They didn't know the basics of physiology, the repeated bout effect. It was terrible. But
That's
anyway,
frustrating when the viewer knows more than the commentators. It's frustrating viewing.
especially like one of them had been there in person. Anyway, we're not going to get into it. I don't want to be too negative here. They did have a split screen. The split screen was unbelievable. It was great watching that. That was the American broadcast that we were seeing videos from. So that was awesome. I I put this in here. Then our chief email officer sent it to me because he's a big fanboy for Clayton Young. Clayton Young off high fiving the girls in the Wellesley Scream Tunnel.
I saw
His
that.
his wife might be okay with it publicly, but I'm not so sure how happy she is privately. It's just, I mean,
It was
it's
like a
kind of
big
cool.
break off. You really had to veer to the right to do it.
Yeah, and jump around a camera and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, not what I would suggest, but there is incredible energy there, and I get it. And it's nice to do that for them. And a lot of the later runners do that. It's probably good. Maybe Brooks was keen for him to do that. You've always got to question some of this stuff. There is probably incentives or questions or comments. It happens a lot in cycling is people trying to get in the breakaway to get airtime. This happens a bit in marathoning, I'm sure, as well. Maybe not as explicitly as we are aware, but certainly some brands saying to people, hey, listen, it'd be good if you led for a while, or hey, go off and high five the girl, something like that. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't know. But I certainly saw the commentators in Britain, and again, I just said how bad they were, so maybe this isn't true, but they sort of made some comment that maybe the Puma athletes were doing this because they were all leading at one stage. And I think that's, it's not a bad take. But yeah, I also wanted to shout out, we mentioned Lisa Waitman. I wanted to shout her out. She is the first person to ever finish all 7 Abbott World Marathon majors, the Com Games, Olympic Games, and World Championships. So,
Wow. Next level. I saw she had
yeah.
her kids there as well to enjoy that
Yeah.
moment with her.
Yeah, her family travels with her quite a bit. She's got a very, very cricket obsessed young son, who I saw them playing some cricket in Boston. I was like, this is cool. It's great to see. So it's really cool there. So it's cool to see the coverage for that and the recognition for it as well. So in terms of the front end, the pointy end of the race, no one's surprised by this. These were the unbackable favorites. John Correa did what he does, didn't fall at the start line. but he ran 2:01:52 to break the course record. He ran a 60:02 second half, which included the hills there. So this should like an even split. An even split here from an energetics perspective is a positive split. So he negatively splitted, which is unbelievable.
I messaged you. I thought he ran 2 hours 50 seconds. That's what I had on in the background. I was getting ready to leave for Ironman, and that's when I texted you and said, "Man, we're getting close to a human running under 2 hours." And you were like, "Oh, ish, not really." Now it makes more sense that he went 2:01:52.
Yeah, so he's the fifth man ever under 2:02. No, so Kipchoge, Bakili, Sawe, the guy's in my head and I can't remember his name now. Cisse Lemma is the other one. So, you know, he's getting there, but this is also the context for this is it was the perfect day. It's nice and cool, maybe a bit cool for some of these Africans. Certainly for someone like me, I would have preferred this temperature. The African guys and girls tend to prefer it a little bit warmer than this, but pretty nice big tail, or not big tailwind, but tailwind, right? This is point to point down, net downhill. So that's why it's not world record eligible. Although the fastest time in the world was run here at one point, it is not world record eligible anymore. But yes, fifth ever under 2 hours too. I have no doubt that he's going to run 2:01, maybe even 2:01 low somewhere else. He's certainly going to be able to pace it a bit differently here, but he makes himself $200,000 plus appearance fee. 50K for breaking the record, 150K for winning, plus his appearance fee. So it's a good payday for old John. He beat Alphonse Felix Simbu, who won the world champs in a sprint, and he outsprinted Benson Kipruto. This was weird. I don't know if you saw this, but Benson Kipruto was leading. He was running pretty fast, and then Alphonse Simbu just like sort of pulls up, runs past him, and Benson's like, I'm done. That's the end. I'm done. You go bye. It was really weird to watch. Like no fight put up at all. But they both ran under 2:03. And so this 2:03 was a course record, which was set by Jeffrey Mutai. And when he ran that, was last tailwind year, which is 2011. Took 3.5 years for anyone else to run fast on any course.
Wow.
So
is it, you reckon this record's going to stand for a while?
I mean, in Boston, it'll stand until the next tailwind year.
Yeah.
For the most part,
like it's not the prevailing wind.
Yeah, it's always messy. Like you never really know where the wind's coming from. So yeah, and that's part of what's cool about the race to some degree. Some years it's fast, some years it's slow, and it's always there. So Zahir Taibi, he is kind of American, kind of not. The Americans are claiming him. He's from Morocco. He's about to change his allegiance. He hasn't quite changed it over yet, or it's not official yet. So he got fifth, and Charles Hicks finished seventh. We talked about Charles's debut in New York earlier this year, which was great. He ran 2:04:35. Now this is great work by the Americans. This is the best way they can develop marathon runners, is import them from other countries, because Charles is from Britain originally. So apologies to my American listeners, but that's the fastest time ever run by a British-born man. So that's quite cool there. So he'll be there. Other people I just noted, Richard Ringer ran 2:04 for eighth. That's a huge run for him, the German. Clayton Young got 11th in 2:05. Joe Klecker had a great run, running 2:05 there for 13th. Rory Linkletter, probably a bit disappointed, running 2:06 for 14th. I was really impressed by Galen Rupp. Old man Rupp is around my age, maybe older, and he got 22nd, but ran 2:08. So really impressive there from Galen. In the women's race, Sharon Leketti went back to back. She was dominant. I didn't even notice she was in the race until about 25 Ks. She starts moving up, and then all of a sudden she was just gone. They were very slow through halfway and even a little bit further. And then she just took off. So she ran 2:18:51. I think that's probably the second fastest time ever, or close to. It's not quite as fast as the record that was run last year by her, beating Helen O'Beary in a bit of a sprint there. This speaks to you can't negatively split the whole thing, right? You can't jog the first half and then really sprint it. You're not going to make up enough time. But her 5K split from 35 to 40 kilometers was 14:46. That's so fast.
Wow.
And then she broke.
The first bit was probably very easy for her in that pack. I saw the pack was huge still. So.
Yeah. I mean, she ran to, I think, 17 or something like that last year. And she, and the first half she ran, they went through in 1:11. So it's an enormous negative split, right? Probably the run of the day in many respects, depends on your viewpoint on this, is Jess McLean. She was top American for fifth, running 2:20:49, which is about 5 minutes or so. Like a big PB and like the fastest ever American on the course. I noticed in the women's there were 5 Kenyans, 4 Americans, and an Ethiopian in the top 10. So quite interesting. The aforementioned Dakota Pompane got 12th in 224, and Izzy Bat Doyle, the Australian, got 16th in 225 is kind of the ones I noted. And then, of course, mentioned last week, Des Linden, having come off Marathon des Sables, she got 30th, running 235, having paced her husband for a bit and nailing a beer at one point on course. There's a bit of a video floating around about that. So, yeah.
I saw that, and she shared it. Looked like she shared it with us as well. We spoke about Jane Hedengren breaking Parker Valby's 10,000 meter record, but now she's back. What else has she done?
She broke the 5,000, mate, outdoor. So now she holds the indoor and outdoor 5,000, the outdoor 10,000, because they don't do an indoor. And she has the second fastest ever indoor 3,000 and the third fastest ever indoor mile.
Keep an eye on that name.
She is young. Well, this is the same thing. Same thing with Gout, same thing with Cam Myers, same thing with all these people is like, these are great runs. That is the end of the sentence. These people have high potential. You have no guarantees. And they're not failures if they don't make it. But also, life between, call it probably 15 and 23 to 25, like that's not easy. So they need good support around them. They need good people around them. We need to be careful with them. They're fragile. We need to, it's hard, right? So Cooper Lutkenhouse is another one. If he never runs faster, he's had a great career. Probably a little bit disappointing, but yeah, good.
I actually watched a video with Usain Bolt talking about this in reference to Gout to say the problem he had when he was young is that kind of results attracts attention, and there are all sorts of distractions off track and field, which you really don't need. So keep the focus on track and field and everything else will fall into place. So really, really good advice from him.
It's also just a volatile time of life. Whether or not you're distracted, you have big change in your life that is hard. So, yeah, I agree with him. It was a good video. I actually watched it as well.
Ironman Texas, should we talk a little bit about it? It was almost like a pseudo world championships when you looked at that start list.
Yeah, so I podcasted with Christian Blumenfeld, the winner, which will be released in the next couple of days. It'll go out before this does, this podcast does. So go listen to that if you want to hear his thought. But one of the things I noted there was that we had the PTO, now called the T100, but the PTO came in to try and create more pay, season-long narratives, all this stuff. And like many rebel leagues, this comes in and may or may not succeed, but you end up with the OG, the originals, then having to ship up and fly right, so to speak, and clean their act up. And I think that's what's happened, right? Ironman now pays better, it pays deeper. It has this pro series that then creates a season-long narrative. And we had a great field as a result of it. We're going to talk about a couple of people who didn't make it, but that's pretty, it was cool. It was cool to see it. 81 male pros and 25 of them went under 8 hours, which is unbelievable. In contrast, the women's field was way less deep, but also way fewer women there. So it was a real contrast in depth and numbers. This feels like the case. I don't know if it's the case, but it feels like less women are coming up from Olympic distance. I could be wrong, but it just doesn't feel like as many. Like if you just think recently, we've had quite a few men come up from Olympic distance, and the only female I can really think about is kind of Taylor Nib, but I might be wrong there. It may just be an availability bias there. I also took note that there's just a dominance of European men, and to some degree the women, but definitely the men. And I remember speaking to people about this, and they said there are a handful of things that play into this. Firstly is the Bundesliga and the French Grand Prix League really makes a good pathway for the French and German triathletes, and other people can go compete as well to some degree. And then in the NCAA system, Title IX means there's no men's triathlon. So you have American female triathletes in college, no men. So like Matt Marquardt that we mentioned, he swam in college. He didn't do triathlon as an example. So I think that's really creating the big deficit. And the other thing I noted here was that there's also Title IX, sorry, just to explain it for the non-Americans, Title IX says that there needs to be equal money spent between men's and women's programs in college sports in America. So it just means there is no men's triathlon because men's football or something else is getting money for it. Also, just note it was a really fast day. And I think a big thing is just the weather. It wasn't that hot compared to normal in Texas. And it just made me reflect that in triathlon, this is seen, like weather is just part of it. It's seen as a feature, not a bug. It's just like it's hot there and that's okay. In marathons, everyone wants a perfect day. Oh, we can't have too much wind. We can't have this. We can't have, can't be a bit rainy. It's just like in triathlons, like, yeah, we're out here for the day. Let's just race. So it is something nice about that.
And I'd argue that triathlon's one of the sports where weather really, really has an impact on your performance and your time. If you're an age group like me, a little bit of wind, a little bit of rain can add as much as an hour to your time on full distance. I've experienced that several times before.
Have you ever done an Ironman, mate?
I've done one or two, or three or four, yep, including Kona, the World Championships for new listeners. All they hear about me is having a broken back and rehabbing from a broken back and a spinal fusion. Was an athlete once upon a time. It feels like we keep talking about a European 10K record getting broken every week. It seems like there has been another one.
Yeah, women's record's been going down quite a bit recently. So this one was run by Clara Lucan from Slovenia. She's the first ever European woman to break 30 minutes. She ran 29:50. So she's 25 at a 10K road race in Spain. So she's a 25-year-old. And I was like, who is this? Looked her up. 25-year-old, former world under 20, European under 20, sorry. Former European under 20 and World University Games champion. She's also bronze in the 10K at the Europeans last year. So this was a 36-second PB from her last year's PB. She's got a 66:43 half marathon, a 14:45 5K. So she's got form here. And she took 2 minutes off her half marathon time in the last year. So she's obviously running into some form here, which is interesting to see because
So,
I'd never heard of her.
so her 5K PB is only 1 second faster than what Sharon Lokedi ran in the last 5K in Boston yesterday.
To be fair, Sharon Lekedi was running downhill, but it is a good point.
Yeah, it was in a marathon. I don't care if it was downhill. It was at the end of a marathon. Incredible. Wow. Ashley Paulson broke the 100-mile world record by 90 minutes at the Boston Marathon Expo. Is that right?
Yeah, on a treadmill. She got on a treadmill and ran this thing.
No, thank
So
you. I'm busy that day. 100 miles on a treadmill.
She ran 12:47, and the previous record was 14:15.
Wow.
So she also broke the 100-mile road record at the Jackpot 100-mile Ultra. Again, I look these people up. I'm like, who is this person? How are they doing this? She broke the 100-mile road record, the Jackpot 100-mile Ultra, in a time of 12 hours and 19 minutes on the road. So she's a previous pro triathlete, mother of a few. I think she's a grandmother as well. And she's won Badwater 135 once. So she, by twice, sorry. So she's legit. That is a serious ultra marathon, more road than trail. But that is like, if you win Badwater, you're doing really well.
Then it seems like we keep talking about Gout, and for listeners who don't know who he is, he's maybe the next Usain Bolt. He's being tipped as the next best thing. He's out of Australia. If you don't know who he is, search Gout on social media right now. But we spoke about him last week, and we have an update. Listeners are sending us stuff about him now, which is very cool.
If you're a listener and you don't know who Gout is, please send us a DM. I just want to do a straw poll here. If they haven't heard of him, I'd be very surprised. But I think
that can be our poll on Spotify this week.
Yeah, I'll put that as the poll. That's a good one. And if you're not on Spotify, send us a DM. Anyway, the big thing, he's making his Diamond League debut this year in Oslo in the 10th of June. And one thing I will say, Gout's got really good management and some really good people around him. His coach seems really down to earth. I heard her speaking a little while ago. They are picking and choosing his races very carefully. He doesn't, he's not racing Commonwealth Games. He's racing World under 20s or World Juniors or whatever it is. He raced the open 200 meters at the Australian Athletics Championships, and then he raced the under 20 100 meters. They're very much picking where he runs based on the competition. And I think this is important because you need to expose him progressively, not too much. Because one of the other things Usain Bolt said is get ready to lose. Because you're going to lose, right? And he's not used to losing much. And I think it's important to learn to lose. I think that's true, but you also need to progressively expose this guy. You can't just expect him to, you can't trash his confidence. You need to keep him confident, especially as a sprinter. But yes, he also won the 100-meter title in the under 20s, as I mentioned. And he was just celebrating so early. It was absurd how early, like how much faster he was. So yeah, it was interesting.
I'll be putting that Diamond League event in my calendar. Looking forward to that. We chatted quite a bit about changing of allegiances, including Turkey looking to incentivize a number of athletes to become Turkish. We alluded to it a little earlier, but there seems to be a hiccup with regards to this in some instances.
Well, so generally this has happened. Athletes have changed nations or whatever else, right? We talked a bit about this in a number of sports. It happens in rugby or whatever else. And it's happened a bit in track and field. We mentioned Charles Hicks as well. I mentioned Zuhir Taibi just earlier, as you said. So we talked a bit about this because it's been big news. Turkey's targeted a number of athletes, some of whom, one of which is Bridget Kosgei, the really big runner. And we talked about it at the time, and I said, it probably makes sense for her. She's not going to qualify for Kenya again, probably. She probably qualifies for Turkey, does that. And I need a context, bring context here is like, I have moved countries and worked in other countries, and you've worked in other countries, and sort of, we probably a little bit biased in this way, but there's also a case of Favor Ofili, who was I believe a Nigerian sprinter, and she had a problem because they didn't have enough uh, testing for her, because she didn't do enough anti-doping tests before the Olympics, so she didn't get to run there. So she started wanting to leave Nigeria for that reason, amongst others. Right now, of course, there's other incentives, potentially passports, certainly money. All those things are, probably incentives here. But we had 11 athletes, including, Jamaican discus champions, all sorts of stuff. The World Athletics have blocked 11 of these athletes, or all of them, 11 of them. The panel ruled that applications were not independent, and were part of a coordinated government finance strategy to buy a national team. Turkey's government operated a wholly owned club that recruited overseas athletes with lucrative contracts, specifically to switch allegiance for LA 2028. The panel found this approach undermines the core purpose of eligibility rules, which is to ensure athletes have genuine connection to the country they represent and to encourage nations to develop homegrown talent. According to the panel, such a move risks weakening the credibility of national representation by incentivizing allegiance switches for financial gain rather than genuine national ties. Ofili's case is particularly sympathetic. We mentioned why. And basically, they didn't care. They said, doesn't outweigh the broader context here. So it's, yeah, I don't know. This is really tough. I don't know where I land on this, but I think, Favor of Philly's case makes some sense here. Yeah, it's just hard. I get it. You don't want all this happening. There is an argument I talked to Pete McKnight about, like, having a couple of these people there to sort of show the way to some degree in terms of bring a level of professionalism that may help. But yeah, I get it. I understand why this happens. I don't know if you have a take on it, but yeah.
No, I don't really have a take, just that it's not black and white. It's a very gray area in that there's no, like, yeah, Ophelia case is, there's very legitimate reasons there that need to be looked at. Then there are other instances where it's all about money and easy access to things, and also whether you can qualify, because you might not be able to qualify for your own country, like you said. So I think it's about a case by case basis, which, and then there's also the uneasiness of representing your country is such an patriotic thing, and a lot of countries are very patriotic. But at the end of the day, these athletes are professional athletes, and it's professional sport as well. So it's not like you're switching brands, you're switching from Adidas to Nike, where it's not as patriotic as you are flying the flag of a different country, So that's what I mean by it's just, it's not so black and white. There's a lot involved. Right. Should we leave it there and get to the very talkative Rachel? We could have talked to her for hours.
Yeah. She was really good. Yeah, let's get to Rachel.
Rachel Entrekin is a professional ultra trail runner for Norda, Precision Fuel and Hydration, Tantrums, Outdoor, Kuros, and Bowley Highway. She is most famous for a win at the 2025 Cocodona 250 miler, winning the race to become the only two-time winner, having also won the 2024 edition and bettering the previous record by 10 hours to set the record at 63.58 and narrowly missing the overall podium. Originally from Birmingham, Alabama, Rachel has also lived and enjoyed Seattle and Los Angeles before moving to Colorado in 2024. In her most recent major race, Rachel battled it out with Ingvild Kaspersen and Courtney DeWalter at the Chianti by UTMB 120K, ultimately placing third and punching a ticket to the UTMB finals in Chamonix. Prior to this race, though, she was on an unbeaten streak of, get this, 21 races in a row, which included the inaugural Mammoth 200 miler and the high and lonesome 100 miler to cap off a huge 2025, which saw her place fourth in the Ultra Runner of the Year voting. In addition to all of this, she has an ITRA score of 766, of which I have no clue what that means, but we're about to find out, and currently holds 8 5Ks across California, Washington State, and Oregon. She has a marathon PB of 3:17 and is a writer for Ultra Running magazine. In a previous life, Rachel was a physiotherapist specializing in cancer rehabilitation. And in the very few hours a day she's not running, she enjoys cooking and playing the piano. Rachel crowdfunded her initial Cocodona 250 race entry. She once played a piano mid-race at an aid station, and she's hot off the back of a win and second overall at the Whiskey Basin 60K over the weekend. Rachel, great to have you here. We've been looking forward to this one for weeks.
Wow. Oh, thank you. That was such a nice intro. I feel like it's a good thing you have a podcast because you should definitely do books on tape or something. Your voice is very nice.
He has a very good voice for it. He's spent a lot of time on radio, so he's actually got a real radio voice. He's a pro here. We did have one person ask for their intro to be sent to them, so we're happy to do that for you if you'd like.
Wow. Okay.
I didn't know that.
I'll give it to my mom.
Is that true?
Yeah, Peter Tierney asked. He said, "Actually, can you send that through to me?" And I ended up sending it to him. So it's a real, really happens.
Just listens to it every morning. It's like, yeah, that's who I am.
Exactly. It's a pump up before a race. Some people listen to music. Some people listen to the intro we do for them. You know, whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, my ITRA score is whatever you just said. And nobody knows. We don't know what an ITRA score is. Yeah. We don't know what the UTMB index is either. Nobody knows. So
just numbers on a page. It's all those things. But we got a really important question to start off with.
Okay.
This is important for the podcast and how much we like you or don't like you. So given you own cats but love petting dogs, cats or dogs?
Don't ask me this. Don't ask me that question. That's an impossible question to answer. Because I think for where I'm at in my life right now, if I am talking about animals that I wish to own, it would be cats. Because dogs are just too high maintenance, I guess. Like they just have a lot of needs and they need socialization. They can't use a litter box, obviously. Although I don't know. I mean, maybe you could train a dog to use a litter box, but that would just be weird. So we're not going to do that. And then I don't know. I mean, I was just gone for the weekend and I have a roommate, but he, it's so easy to sit a cat. Like you just come by and like make sure it's not dead, basically. And dogs are just really high needs. So like it's funny you ask because I'm dog sitting one of my friend's dogs starting, what day is it? It's Tuesday. So starting tomorrow until Sunday. And it's like, that's what you need. Like I'm taking the dog, I'm bringing the dog to my house. Whereas like with cats, you can just be like, all right, cool. I'll pop over for like an hour. So that's the kind of responsibility I need in my life right now is something that loves me exclusively conditionally. But I really love dogs. I've grown up with dogs. These are the first cats I've ever owned in my entire life. Okay. So, but they're great.
I don't know if you guys, this is so not interesting to the listeners, but you guys can maybe see this. I'm getting a new puppy in a few days. And that's it over there. Oh, just got in that photo right now, which is why I'm showing it.
That's so great news. Tell me everything about this dog. We can do this offline too if you want, but I would like to know everything there is to know.
Listeners know his dog, so let's go for it.
Yeah, she's a giant schnauzer, salt and pepper giant schnauzer. Her name's Willow. Yeah, she's I think 8 weeks, about to turn 8 weeks old. So about to fly, on the weekend. She's
little thing. That's so sweet.
Yeah, listeners need to know about it because in a few months she'll be barking on the podcast. We always have our dogs barking in the background on the podcast. So
I have a snoring Frenchie about a foot from me here. So if you can hear that, then yeah, that'll be what that is.
Put the microphone next to your dog. I just want to hear the dog snore.
Oh, you do not. He is snoring badly, and I'm like,
I know, like the short nose, like the brachycephalic dogs, dude, they just snore so hard. Yep. My friend had a deaf French bulldog, and it was just like constantly making some sort of noise. It was so funny.
Mo is asleep behind me doing exactly that. So nice. If you see me pull a face, it'll be because of his flatulence.
Oh heck yeah, I know how that goes. That's another thing about cats. They don't really. I don't think my cats I've never heard them fart. So it's like. Yeah, cats, so I guess that's like a small,
cats have more dignity than that. Dogs don't have dignity. Cats have dignity, and also you don't own them; they own you. So You,
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
that's
tolerate
true.
you.
yeah,
Their
Yeah.
housemates that tolerate you.
But yeah, I definitely, I don't know. I love both, but the amount of responsibility that I can reasonably give to an animal is cat. I can cat. I can't. I like to. I mean, I dog sit for people, and I pet everybody's dogs, obviously and infamously. But yeah, I think cats are where my answer was is probably gonna lie. Cats at the moment. We'll see.
perfect. So to jump into a bit of running news, we'll start off with some quick, funny questions. Your first one is: do you prefer racing for time or distance?
Certainly not time. So I guess distance.
Okay, so you don't like the 48 hours, even though that's where you started.
Um, it's not that I guess it's not that I don't like them. I think what I use those races more as objective, like checkpoint races, maybe. So like, how fast can I actually run if there are zero obstacles in the way? Like I'm not having to navigate terrain. I'm not having to worry about aid stations. I don't have to worry about the bathroom. I don't have to carry anything. So it's just very scientific, I feel. So, but and they're very social actually. I really like that aspect too, because, a lot of times in these point to point or fixed distance races, then I mean, I might not, last year at Cocodona, I didn't see anybody for basically, I remember I passed Harry Suburtis near Watson Lake outside of Prescott, which I hadn't even, so before mile 75, that's the last person I saw
Oh
the
wow.
entire rest of the race.
Wow.
So like you might not outside of my pacers, but you just might not see anybody, and like that is fine, I love all aspects of running, but I'm also a huge talker and I love to meet people, and so I love I love the fixed time races because they are so social, and you get to, it doesn't matter what pace you're going necessarily, like you will see the same, you will be around people the whole time. Um, but I think the spirit of why I like running probably lies within that adventure realm of like I like to get started at a trailhead and then see a ton of stuff and then finish either at that trailhead or maybe not. And like I don't know that I've gotten really into this idea of like a cool looking Strava map, because I'm a dork. And so if like the cooler the map, like the better. But there is something really nice about like I haven't actually done a fixed time race with a watch or a map before, because I only just got a watch last year. But it'd be funny to like just post this like unhinged Strava file of just like, here is a circle that I ran around like 260 times. That'd be pretty funny.
I, having seen a
But
couple of those, I agree with that. I've seen a couple of them, and they're always wild to see. You just think, oh,
I
okay.
know. Yeah, I did the burrito league, and I did a 50 miler on the last day, and it was just like, what is this map? This looks insane.
Love that.
But but yeah, so yeah, I guess distance is my answer.
We were going to ask you about the watch, so let's go there before listeners like rip their headphones out and throw them on the ground and stomp on them. How is it you were running for so long without a watch, and what made you get one if you were?
Well, it's pretty easy to run without a watch if you don't care about them, and that's basically how I was for years. Um, I I get so many people that, and I'm very interested in information sharing. Like I think it's really important as a sport to not hold on to the things that you're doing that make you successful, because like I don't really ever care to be the greatest of all time or whatever. Like that's just, I mean, if it happens, cool, that's great. But like for me, I always tell myself that the best trail runner in the world could be out there and just not know what to do. And if I can help that person get started, then like what an incredible contribution to the sport. And so that's kind of how the watch thing happened, is like all my friends were always like, what the, like, how, why can't we need data for your races? Cause like, I'm not, for runs around my neighborhood and stuff, like fine, I'll do my phone app or whatever. But like, I'm not doing that for a race, cause what if my phone dies and I'm stuck on a mountain and like, I'm like, that's dangerous, And so for all these races, I wouldn't have any data. And races are kind of where like, I don't know, some sort of voodoo magic usually happens during races, and then
Win.
nobody knows. Yeah, like nobody knows what happens out there. And so a bunch of my friends were like, okay, like this is stupid. Like we need the answers. And so there's a running shop in Washington State called Snoqualmie Running, and the shop owner sent me a DM right before Western States last year, and she was like, "Hey, I got a Koros, like I'm sending it to you, and you have to say yes." And so I was like, "Okay, well here's my address." And so she sent it to me, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was like, okay, well now I just have this other thing, which I sometimes forget to put on, which is fine. But yeah, I don't. It'll be interesting because I do understand the utility of a watch, and I think I'm going to be interested to see how, because I mean I've worn it for High Lonesome now. I think that was my first race that I ever did with a watch was last year at High Lonesome, and I didn't even. I mean, I didn't look at it the entire race. Like I didn't. I paused or finished my run or whatever, and then I had to ask the race director like, "Hey, what was my time?" Because like I couldn't figure out how to like find my time. I don't know. I'm still very
Just sorry to get you. Don't you have a sponsorship with Chorus or not?
I do. Yeah, and I've had a lot of training since then because I was only one. I think I was only 1 month into owning a watch at the time, so I've learned how to find the time on it now. But yeah, I still. I mean, again, my big. I can only run as fast as I can, and seeing a number on my watch. I'm actually curious to see how that's going to motivate me because I expect that I'll be doing that. I have some goals at Cocodona that involve not slacking off on my pace for the second half of the race because I have done that historically and I would like to not do that. And so I think that the watch is going to be useful in order to be like, okay, well I'm actually running like a 14-minute mile and like I should probably try to run a little bit faster. So I'm curious actually to see how that works or whether that's because it could be a negative thing. Like I could be like, well crap, I can't run any faster than a 14-minute mile, and like I thought I was running an 11-minute mile. So yeah, but I mean historically, on my watch face you can customize everything, especially with Koros. My favorite thing to do with mine is to set my watch background as something completely deranged that makes me laugh. That's usually related to the race, and I often will have like my social media followers like vote on it, which is really fun. And actually, I still have the one from Chianti, which is Peter Griffin at a like meat shop talking in Italian. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, but yeah, I usually, I mean, I have pretty basic things. I have pace. I have what my current altitude is. I literally have a screen that is just the time of day. And I would say that often that's what I have on for most things is like just the time of day.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll definitely, this is my first Cocodona with a watch. It'll definitely be really interesting to see like how I use it. Cause like I said, Zach Susi is the athlete manager and he and I have had a lot of, phone calls about like, Rachel, did you know you could put a map on your watch? Like, did you know that it'll tell you the weather? It's like, whoa, really? That's cool. So, yeah. So I've definitely learned a lot, but I don't know. Getting a watch was a really, I'm not gonna say hard thing for me to do because it was so easy. And I'm really invested in sharing my data and sharing my information and that kind of thing. But it just, sometimes it's hard to shake. It's just like one more piece of gear that like, I got into the sport because it was simple, oh, you need your shoes or whatever. And now it's like, well, actually you need a watch and you need a pack and you need hydration and you need all this stuff. And it's just like, so.
I understand and feel that to some degree, not quite to the same degree, but to some degree, I do love the data. If it makes you feel any better, the winner of the Boston Marathon, Sharon Leketty, forgot her watch. So she had to borrow someone's watch to run the Boston Marathon and win it in the second, one of the fastest times of all time. So
I relate so much to that feeling. I cannot possibly relate to that woman, but but I relate to that feeling. Yeah.
Tell us a story about the best grilled cheese you've ever had.
Holy crap! Okay, so it was the one at the end of Cocodona. Is that the reference, or are you actually asking? Okay. I was like, I didn't know if like I didn't know how popular that story was. So yeah, that is a story. So I'm just going to tell the long version.
Please.
So in 2024, I ran Cocodona, and I was on the last section with my pacer Jake, and I was miserable. I'd never run that far before, and it was really hard, and I wasn't mentally prepared. I guess I was physically prepared because I was actually able to run once we stopped freaking climbing up that mountain. But I just I really bonked and I died, and I had a terrible finish in 2024. I won the race, and I was just so wet blanket lame kind of person. And that was my biggest regret from 2024 is I hated that finish. I watched that video and I'm just that's so, it was fine. It was fine. But that was not an accurate representation of the person that I wanted to be. And so, so my goal for 2025 was to finish with a better attitude. And so I had my pacer Jake, I had him pace me for the same section. And I also learned a little bit more through working with precision and just personal experience with bonking hideously, that a lot of the times when I get into a negative headspace, I just need to eat something. So 2025 rolls around, and I have a fantastic race. Every second of my life on that course is just awesome. I get to the top of Mount Eldon. I get to the bottom of Mount Eldon, and I'm just I hate everything. I want to be done. I am already at 251 miles right now. What in the world is this? Because I don't know how long the race is. It's just 200 and whatever miles. You get to the finish line, and that's when the race is over. And so my pacer, who I kind of had a conversation with about hey, this is my goal, and I chose you on this section because I want you to be curt and frank with me if I'm starting to act like a little bitch. And so he kind of side-eyed me and was hey, do we need to eat a food? And I was yes, but I was so tired of everything I had in my pack, and there was an aid station in about a mile. And so I just shut up, and there's cameras, I'm about to win the race in this insane fashion, and there's cameras everywhere, and I'm just not talking because if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything. And so so we finally get to the aid station, and I just saw this. I think it was the only grilled cheese that was in the little warming bin, and I was just oh my god, that is exactly. And it's silly because there's 4 miles left. I'm almost just done with the whole thing, and I spent probably 2.5 minutes just eating a grill. And it was so funny because all these cameras, all these people are at the aid station, and they probably expect the front runners to just kind of blow through it. And I'm sitting here just I gave Jake half of it, and we're just sitting here yes, grilled cheese. It was pretty funny. So that was. Yeah, that's the grilled cheese that saved the race for sure. Because I was getting into that same headspace of just anytime I ask myself, where is the whatever, where's the finish line or where is the aid station, it means that I'm bonking. And I was getting there. And so, and then, I ate the grilled cheese, had the best finish line experience of my life. And now I'm a professional athlete, so that's credit to the grilled cheese.
Well, they do always say low mood eat food, so that that is very classic.
Yeah. I love how these endurance events turn us into toddlers. There's no hiding. It's whoever you are underneath there just comes out.
Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned paces there a few times. How does it work? You say you chose the pacer. Is that what you do, or does the race give you a selection of people who can help you? How does that work?
You choose. Yeah, you choose. That'd be actually pretty fun though if you just random pacer. That would be really interesting. I don't tend to use pacers or crew very often. Actually, the only times I have really are for multi-days, and I think the next one that I do, I'm going to try to not use one, but we'll see. But yeah, I guess every year it's kind of come together really well. With it's Cocodona. Not everybody, but a lot. It's an interesting race, especially if you're in the Western United States. And I guess now everywhere kind of seems like it's quite the phenomenon. But it's always been pretty pretty easy for me to like, hey, I need somebody, like, is anybody interested? And it's like I have like a wait list at this point of like people who would like to help, which is so nice. But I really, even the first year that I did it, like I fell into this really incredible running group that helped me train, and like they would do all these just deranged long runs with me, and like, so I mean, I just selected my pacers and my crew from that running group. The first year I did it. The second year, where was I living? I was living in Colorado, but like I had a lot of repeat offenders. I guess it wasn't too bad the first year because yeah, I think I had like 3 of them come back, and then I chose a couple new ones, and then this year, kind of same thing. It's like I always like to have at least a couple people who have actually crewed or paced me before, which is a little bit of a high order because I don't use them very often, but a lot of the times it's like people that I consistently run with, who know how to manage me, who have a high standard of excellence themselves. This year I actually have a really high-ranking military officer as my crew chief, which would be really fun. Really nice person, but also like, okay, like nobody is going to slack. So I think I have a fun crew every year. I'm a little notorious at Cocodona for just having like a crew that is very affable and very like, we're always on camera, and so they do a really good job with like talking to the cameras and just like being funny. And I think this year will be no different. Like I'm really lucky to have a group of folks who like genuinely want to be there, or genuine fans of the sport, are super good at reading my mood and helping me out and making me eat snacks. Emile from Precision crewed me at Chianti, and it was like, I might marry her now, to be honest. Like, it was the best. She was the best. I mean, it was exactly what I have envisioned when using a crew. I mean, she was so efficient and like good, and so I'm really excited to have her follow, or her coming along too, because I do think that's something that I consistently need a lot of help with, is the nutrition part of and hydration part of things. And I've realized that it's obviously very important to your energy and your mood to have the correct input. So I'm excited to have her along too. But yeah, it'll be really fun. I'm excited.
Well,
we had our crew meeting yesterday, so I'm like, yes, everybody's cool.
That is cool. I was reading your Chianti write-up, and you talked about Emile. And
yes.
One of the things you mentioned in passing was that you just said to her, "Fill my pack, and I'll make sure to eat it by the time they get to the next aid station."
Yep.
So you must have quite an iron gut then, because I'm more used to crewing people where it's like, I'm going to stuff a bunch of stuff in here because I don't know what you're going to want, and we need you to eat as much as possible between here and the next one. And it's kind of like, I'm a little bit worried about getting yelled at from them, and I'm not going to name any names and out these people who've been a little bit grumpy, but it's not always easy pace. It's not always easy crewing people. So I was very interested to read that.
Yeah. I'm exclusively good at running. I'm not good at anything else within the running and racing world. One of my previous partners is absolutely correct in saying this, but he said that you might be the best ultra runner in the world, but you're definitely the stupidest, which is accurate. And so for me, it's like, that's something that I know that worked at Cocodona. That's something that I know that's worked at Mammoth when I've had crew and pacers. It's just like, give me whatever I'm supposed to have. And like, if my only job is to finish this, like, that's an easy thing for me to do. Like, I will be able to finish, if this is the correct amount of things and I can trust you that like, you're not trying to overdo it or underdo it, then like, okay, cool. I'll just finish all this stuff in the next 2 hours. So I like that strategy. That I think we did that at Mammoth for the first time, because I think I'd had Emily as my kind of sports scientist for probably about a year at that point, and so she kind of knew like, all right, here's what you need every hour. And I did the same thing I actually did have I had a crew at Coldwater Rumble earlier this year, and that was kind of what we did, and it worked super well. It was just like, have all this, and like, your pack will like better be empty when you come back. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, there's an aid station in 3 miles, so I guess I need to like finish up all my stuff. But yeah, that's a method that definitely works well for my brain. It's just like, okay, here's a task, like finish this task.
I'm going to try to phrase the boring question: how did you start running in a better way?
Okay.
I heard you talking on the Precision Fuel Hydration YouTube channel about how you ran your first ever marathon. And in that marathon, someone invited you the next weekend to like a trail marathon or something. Like, is that true? Did you finish both? How did you feel? And is that how you discovered you were good at this?
Yeah, that is all true. I don't remember if it was the next week or if it was the following weekend, but like it was really close. It was really close. And I did that marathon. My first marathon was actually my P. I mean, I'm not racing marathons or anything, so like PR, I don't know. But that first marathon was actually one of my faster ones for probably years. Just again because I'm not really racing them and I'm just out there having fun. But yeah, I did super well. I ran with a guy named Joe, who I'd never met before. I met him at mile 4, and then it was just like, okay, well, let's just do this together. And when we finished, he was like, because obviously you just trauma bond for the entire 22 remaining miles. And so, like, by the time the race was over, he knew my entire life story and all my insecurities. And he was like, cool, you should come do trail running because it's way better than this. And, and, and so I was like, I was new to, obviously I was new to running. I was new to the sport. I never even thought that you could run on trails, And so I was interested, but I went to the race and it was really fun. I really loved the community. I loved the aid stations. There was like whiskey and stuff. Like that was wild. But it was just so like I was in school at the time. I think I was studying for my doctorate, or no, I wasn't. But I was in school, and I'm just like very school nerd. And so the reason I loved running so much is because it's just a very like efficient form of exercise, I think. And so trail running at the time just felt very inefficient. Like if I have 3 hours, I can either leave from my dorm room and go for a 3 hour run and then arrive, or I could get in my car, drive for 25 minutes, run for 2 hours, and then so it wasn't what I was ready for at the time. But after I did it the first time, it was another avenue in which I could utilize the skills that I was getting on the road. And so every once in a while, and as soon as I did that race, I met a bunch of his homies and I met some people in the Alabama trail scene. And so over the years, I would say like my racing was still primarily road marathons. Like I would do like 3 a month. I remember one May I did a marathon every single weekend. It was like, I don't know. I wasn't going to win, but I could do the most. And like feel fine. But yeah. And so my racing was still primarily on the roads, but my training, on the weekends when I wasn't in school and I didn't have stuff to do, like I would go out and I still remember I got lost at this park in Alabama called Oak Mountain. And I did 18 miles, and it was just like, okay, like I guess I can run on trails now. And so yeah, over the years, I discovered the 50K distance, and that is not something I have ever had any interest in running on the road. The marathon is kind of like, well, I mean, I guess I do like 48 hours on the roads now, but yeah, I eventually once I started getting into the longer stuff, initially it was like, oh, trails. Like I don't need to do 30 miles on the road. Like I'll just do it on trails.
Well, you just mentioned how frequently you race. This was a question we had. You've also mentioned about 35 trail races that you may have completed in the last week or two. We're not sure.
Yeah.
What's your take on this race frequency? Is it about, do you just do them as training races? Is it kind of, hey, I just go along and then party? Is it a bit of fun? Like, how do you think about it? Is it planned? Are you working on certain things?
Yeah, I guess admittedly, especially now that I'm a professional, I've had to think about it a little differently because one of the biggest things for me, I do race really often and I like racing really often. I was chatting with Devin Yanko. She lives close to me. She's a really good ultra runner that lives in the same town as me. And she has a really crazy year this year, and she's racing a lot. Like, she has a Rachel Entrekin schedule, which I'm just like, hell yeah. And she was kind of saying, I'm racing all the time because I don't really have the time to train. And so by kind of having races like once every 4 to 6 weeks, like, I don't really have to train. I just have to go home and like recover, get like 2 weeks of running in, and then like taper for the race. And like, you can kind of maintain your fitness. I don't know. I don't know how it all works, but she was saying like, yeah, you can kind of maintain your fitness that way. And I mean, I think there's something to that. Like, last year, I love training. I love running. Actually, I wouldn't say that I love training because I just go for runs. But I love running. And so for me, like, I think I'm good at training, and I'm good at kind of figuring out like, okay, this race, like Chianti, like, okay, like, it sounds like it's really runnable and it sounds like it's very steep. And so things that I need to work on in my daily runs are like running up and down hills as fast as I can. Because like, that's, when dissecting the course, like, that's what it seems like I'm going to need to be doing. And so I like doing those things. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think racing is really fun. Like, and I've gone on, especially recently, like, I think I finally have, maybe like the imposter syndrome is a little bit less, at least with regards to like, I might not always do the right things, but I sure know how to address a lot of problems that come up during a race environment. Because I've fallen into this really fun group of friends locally, and my friend Jake came with me to Whiskey Basin, and he, we were chatting through the race and stuff, and he was like, "Oh yeah, my foot was cramping," and it's like, "Well, did you drink enough?" And he was like, "No, definitely not." It's like, okay, like, that's, it's just like, I guess now I've raced so much that I just know how to anticipate what problems you're going to run into. I know how to train for the course that you're going to be running on, because he also just trained in Santa Barbara, which is just notoriously like straight up, straight down, and rocks. And Whiskey Basin is like very runnable. And so it's just like, I'm really grateful that for whatever reason, I really love racing, and I've done so many races. And I've only been running for probably like 15 years, which I guess is a really long time. But I mean, I've probably done like 300 races, would be my conservative guess.
Wow.
'Cause I have at least 100 on Ultra Sign Up. And I mean, I was doing probably from 2010 to 2014. I mean, I was doing at least like 20 marathons a year, like, at least.
Wow.
And so, so yeah, I don't know. I think, what started out as a way to do a supported long run, basically, and just like see where I was that day, kind of turned into like, well, I actually just love doing this. And like, my friend, I'm a sucker for peer pressure, and they would always ask if I wanted to go do one. And I was like, well, yeah, of course.
I love that.
So,
I love that. Let's talk a little bit about training. So what does a training week look like for you? If you're talking about these things, like what does a running week look like for you?
So recently, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've kind of adopted this philosophy, especially now that running is my full-time gig, of just say yes to everything. Obviously, like, take into account how you're feeling, but I'm really lucky that fortunately most of the time I feel fine. Even if it's like immediately post race, like I probably feel fine. But yeah, I mean, a lot of my friends have coaches. I have never had a coach. I think I'm probably uncoachable because I'm not going to listen. But if they want to go do a speed workout because their coach gave them one, like, yeah, I'll go with you. And like, oh, you have a 25-mile long run, like marathon effort, like, fine, like, I'll go with you.
I love that.
Because I mean, again, I'm not, if you want to go do hill repeats on freaking Mount Princeton, like, yeah, I'm game. Like, let's go. So yeah, that's kind of been my, especially over the last, like, I don't know, 3 months, again, while I'm kind of, I don't really have an excuse to say no. I mean, running is what I want to be doing. And I think this idea of being down to do anything at any time and not look foolish or get dropped or like, and I want to appear competent and like I can do this. That's been kind of a fun I don't know. It's like, especially for the multi-day, I think so many people don't train for like you're gonna find yourself in a circumstance, and like if you don't practice finding yourself in a circumstance that like you didn't choose. Like I didn't choose to do 25 miles with Addie Bracy while she's just like running like the bat out of hell. Like I'm just trying to keep up, and I'm trying to do it, like happily. And so for me, I think it's been kind of a funny training cycle for Cocodonas because it's really just been like if anybody's doing anything, they just text me and I say yes, and then I show up and like I participate and yeah. So I mean, usually that winds up being I used to take more days off, but now like it's so easy to recover. Like I just go for a run and then I don't have to go to work and it's great. So I just like sit down and eat and so I do like taking at least one day off a week because I don't know, I just that feels healthy. Um,
But do
and
you
so
but do you think your physio background is what helps you stay injury free, stay on it?
I do think the biggest thing that and I was doing this before I was a physical therapist. I was training and I was, doing all this stuff. So it's hard to say that I learned this concept, but I think something that I picked up on naturally was this idea of progressive overload, where you can't tax the system beyond what it's able to handle. I've done that a couple of times in my past. Like I did a 50 miler, my first 50 miler. I was so not ready and like I died. But I learned and I was able to train better for subsequent ones. I do think I kind of talked about this before, but the fixed time format is really good for kind of testing the waters of like, okay, well, like let's see where that limit is, and like let's do it in a controlled way. And once I do that, it's like, all right, cool. Like I know that I can physically run 100K, but like that's if everything's easy. So if we add a little bit more complexity, if we stress the system in one variable, like that just feels safer to me. Um, but yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say that like my physio background, certainly with regards to like, oh, my knee hurts. Like let's address that. But I think with regard to my training, yeah, the progressive overload thing has been something that I think it just made like I accidentally fell into it, but it made sense to me. And I mean, people often will like look at my training and be like, "Holy shit! Like, what are you doing? Like, this is, like because one week I'll do 130 miles with like 35K climbing, and then the next week I'll do like 110 miles in like 20 hours, just like running really fast. But it's like, well, I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and like even when I was working professionally, like I've always kind of had this like say yes to runs with people because I mean they are doing different things, they are focusing on different things, and I want to grow my skill set so that I can be competent and be comfortable in a variety of settings. Um, and yeah, I mean that's just been something I used to train a lot by myself when I first started running, but I would say over the last since at least probably 2017, I've really enjoyed getting to run with other people and learn what skills they have and learn those skills from them, and then apply them on my own or teach them to new people that I run with. So yeah, I don't know. My training is kind of
It's something, and I hate to invoke one of your main rivals here, in Courtney Dauwalter, but
we're not
certainly,
rivals. We're not rivals. There are no rivals in the sport.
You know,
okay,
rivals,
well,
David. When you win 21 races in a row, there's only everyone else who shows up.
yeah,
Nah.
but
Yeah.
something she comes across similarly, I think, if on a service
Yeah.
level, which is like, oh yeah, I just sort of go out and run. But I think both of you probably have a lot more method to the madness than is apparent at a surface level. And once you start talking, like you're like, oh no, I'm very much trying to acquire skills and I've done this 15 years. And then all of a sudden it starts to fall into place. You go, actually, I can see the patterns through this, and it's not as chaotic and it's not as haphazard as it may seem.
Mm.
There's a level
Yeah.
of I have to prepare for the unpreparable. So how do I do that? Well, create chaos inherently within outer limits of safe, and then all of a sudden everything falls into line such that I can go race a race where I have no idea what's going to happen, because it could be cold this year like it was last year, or it could be hot like the year before, or it could be I could be eating grilled cheese, or I could be, eating whatever Emily shoves in my pack because it's Italy and now she shoved a sausage in there. And what is this?
Hey.
Yeah. So, but one of the things you did mention in your pre-Chianti blog post, and to invoke the Courtney, is your relationship to pressure and being a favorite and on the start line. You're about to start Cocodona, right? We're going to put this out a week out of Cocodona, I believe.
Okay.
And Cocodona is in what, a week's time? 2 weeks time?
It is 2 weeks from yesterday.
Yeah, 2 weeks from yesterday. So this will go out a handful of days before Cocodona starts. And, you're one of the favorites. You won the last 2 in a row. You beat Courtney last year. She DNF'd, but she's on the start line again this year. She just beat you at Chianti and famously ran straight past you when you sort of thought, what's going on?
Yeah, that was insane. I was just like, what the world?
So but, how are you thinking about pressure? How's that, as a new pro, right? Because previously when you weren't a pro, it was like, oh, it's like, I'm here to do my thing. But now you're a pro. It's like kind of your job.
Yeah. I'm actually really, I'm very thankful for the Chianti experience, because I was really curious. I mean, you guys have referenced a couple times like, oh, the win streak. And like, that was never something that I cared about. I just showed up to races. My goal was to do my best. And like, the best happened to be I won or set a course record or whatever wild thing happened while I was at the race. So that was never my storyline. However, it became one. And it became one that I wasn't sure how to feel about. I've been in the sport a long time. I've been pretty good at it for a long time. And there have been periods of my life within this sport where winning was more important than the experience, I guess. And in 2022, I had a really terrible year where like my focus was winning, and I did not do that very often that year. And so that taught me a lot about like, okay, I obviously need to have other things that are important to me. And that's when I kind of really came up with this idea of like process over outcome goals of like, okay, well at Cocodona, like I want to dial in my nutrition better. I want to have a better attitude on the top of Mount Eldon so that I can have like those sort of things. None of those things ever deal with winning or time or whatever. And so, again, I am so thankful for Chianti, because I was really curious to see like, okay, well, it's easy to say that I don't care about winning, but like, what happens if you don't win? And like, are you going to care when you don't win? Are you going to be disappointed in not winning? And I crossed that finish line, and I actually thought I was in 5th place. And so, and I was like, nope, 5th place. Like that makes a lot of sense. Like this is my first European race that I've been successful at. And like, I'm finishing this race, and it's not my style. I'm not a fast, it's not flat, but like, I think that my skill set is mostly rugged mountain terrain. Like I'm good at technical, I'm good at climbing, I'm good at no oxygen. Like, and Chianti was none of those things. And so for me, it was like, oh, 5th place. Like, no, that makes sense. And so I crossed finish line, stoked about 5th place, found out I was 3rd, and it was just like, well, hell yeah. Like, that's actually better. And there was zero disappointment in getting 3rd. And honestly, like, not that when you're a like pseudo niche celebrity public figure person, like the talking heads on the internet, I hear them, and like it matters, obviously, but it seemed like, it was just such a fun race, and like no one cared. Like it just happened to be that like I got to the finish line 3rd fastest, and it was still, I did so much better than I thought I was going to do. I had such a good experience with like from start to finish. It was just awesome. And so, yeah, I'm really grateful that like, even though that race did not result in a victory by like numerical standards, for me, it was a huge like, holy crap, like I did so good at that race. And like, I held my own against people who like are great athletes. So like that, extrapolating that information, and I was only 5 minutes behind them. So like, who cares? Like we were all right there the whole day. And it really is just like, if any one thing had gone differently for any of us, like Ingvild could have been on the top of that podium, or I could have. Like, it was that close. And so I don't know. I think that experience taught me so much about, like, as long as you're running your best race, that's all you can do. I mean, you can't beat yourself up for not winning, because inevitably somebody is gonna, again, I mean, it probably came down to like one thing. Like, one thing made the difference for all of us as to what place we got. And I'm not gonna beat myself up over one thing. I'm gonna celebrate the 500 things I did during that race that I planned to do and that I executed perfectly. So for Cocodona, I mean, sure, it's funny because last year I actually was a little offended that, like, I wasn't listed very much, and like, who's gonna win? Like, not Rachel, because, like, she won it last year and, like, no one cares. So I was a little offended, to be honest, but now it's like going in, there's no hiding. There's no hiding.
It's Rachel's here to three-peat.
I'm here, and that's fine. But so yeah, I mean, I'm really, I wrote that post pre-Chianti because I was experiencing quite a bit of, like, I mean, I think there was both external and internal pressure. Like,
of course,
again, the talking heads were like, oh, well, she hasn't done anything. And it's like, well, that's what you, like, I disagree. I think I've done plenty of things, but, like, that felt large, and that was very ever present in my mind going into the race. And I wanted to prove something, but I also knew from 2022 that, like, if I just focus on winning, like, that is not a good way to start a race. And if I focus on, like, beating people, like, that isn't either. And so I'm really glad I wrote all that stuff out, and then I sent it to my friend Jake, and he was like, this is incredible, like, you should share this. Yeah. And I'm glad that I did, because honestly, putting it out there, it was really wonderful to write it out, because it's like, okay, cool, like, that must be how I feel then. But putting it out there is like, okay, well, now if I don't do this, if I run somebody else's race instead of my own, I'm going to look like an idiot, because I just said that I didn't want to do that. And if I DNF this race because I started out too fast, or I didn't fuel, or I let the, like, amoeba eat my brain of just, like, pressure, then I'll be upset with how that race unfolds. So I just kind of, put it out there and kept to my word and got a really sick result. So yeah, I don't know. I'm expecting the same probably at Cocodona. I've actually felt really good about how I feel regarding that race. I don't know. It's just, at the end of the day, it's just a race. And I think Chianti again taught me that, like, the show is so much more fun.
Well, you gave close. You probably gave us a race we were hoping for the year before from the boys. So the year before, probably. Jim, Killian, and I can't remember his name. I've been racking Vincent. Yeah. I feel horrible. Yeah. His coach is a previous guest of ours, Mario Froli. He's a friend of mine. So, but anyway, so we were hoping for a great race there, and, like, it kind of eventuated, kind of didn't. But so it was cool.
I mean, Jim just killed everybody. Like, that's.
But also,
and
there
was no killing. There was no killing.
Yeah, there was injury, and it was like,
exactly.
It was a bit, So you gave us what we were all waiting for the year before, as often the case. But so, what does success look like for you in Cocodona this year? Right, you talked about process goals and outcome goals. Of course, crossing the finish line first will be lovely, but what are the process goals that we can keep an eye on while we're not watching Cocodona?
Yeah. So it's funny because I'm like, I don't know, do time goals, and actually, I am doing it in. I say goal, and it's very loose. It's a very loose goal, because I think that there is a world in which a woman gets close to the 60-hour mark, or possibly goes below it. And I don't see why it can't be this year. Mm-hmm. So we have an incredible group of ladies. And, again, if Chianti taught me one thing, it's that probably with pack racing, we all go 10% faster. So, like, why not this year? So I think, one of my goals is, I did 64 hours, we'll call it 64 hours last year. And, like, can I find 4 hours? Like, probably. I could probably find 4 hours somewhere. And yeah, it's going to be hard, but we don't run these races because it's easy. We run it because we want to see who we are when things get hard. And so I think that is if I do not get that, I am not upset. But that's something in the back of my mind is like, all right, like we're going to try to inch that bar closer to 60 hours for the women. Because I mean, really, there are only a handful of men who have even done it. I think there's like only probably 5 men who have gone under 60 hours, and those have been on different shorter courses. Last year, exception, because Dan Green just like, what the heck was that? And Ryan Sands, I think, went under as well. But yeah, so that's. I mean, I hesitate to even say goal. That's like a pipe dream.
Yep.
Is like 60 hours.
Well, what do you think you could do to find those 4 hours? What do you think you could do differently?
One of my other goal that is a process goal is stop slacking around on the last half. So that's where I think I burn a lot of time is just like, and I talked about this in my crew meeting yesterday because I just spent the weekend at Mike Versteeg's place, which was an incredible experience. That person absolutely has his finger on the pulse of the right things, I think. Just like such a genuine and interesting guy. But he and I were chatting a little bit about race strategy, and he was like, do not get in the car. Like, if you get in the car, you burn time. And I was reflecting on my own Cocodona experiences when I was at crewable aid stations, and like I would find myself in the van, and it's like, I don't even need to be here right now. Like we could do all of this like on the side of the trail and like take away that comfort of, and like take away wanting to like stay in the warm van. And so that was something I mentioned yesterday to my crew is like, hey, I don't want to get in the van unless I'm like, I don't know, needing to like do something that requires privacy or being horizontal. Like I don't want to get in the van. So I think that'll help. I think there's about an hour, maybe 90 minutes, probably an hour if I'm being realistic, of aid station stoppage that I can cut out. Last year I got lost twice and burned probably an hour, having to figure out where the trail was. And I also ran like 2 miles off course last year. Whoops. So that will save me some time if I don't do that, which my Koros watch has a map on it. So hopefully
use the map feature. It's my favorite feature. I have a Koros on my wrist. It's my favorite feature of any watch I've ever owned.
I've been practicing. So hopefully I will and I don't really run with headphones or anything. So like I will hear the noise. So that'll be good. And then, yeah, I think really just not excusing fatigue or not giving fatigue more power than I need to in the last half. Cause like, duh, I'm going to be tired. Like, but who cares? Like
that was the plan.
I've run when I'm tired before. Yeah. And like, I know that I can, how is it then that at last year at mile 54, we have 2 miles left and I'm like dropping 9-minute miles. Like, obviously I can still run. I just need to do that. So yeah, that's a goal. And then my other pipe dream goal is that, 3 women are in the top 10 and 1 is in the overall podium.
That is infinitely possible this year.
I think so.
I think so. In fact, if all of you finish and you really race each other, I'd be surprised if that doesn't happen. I can see 2 women on the podium, if I'm honest.
That'd be sick. I mean, this is the minimum pipe dream goal. So, I mean, I wish that 10 women would be in the top 10. That'd be sick. But yeah, I think, 30% of the field is female. I think it would be cool if that were represented on the top 10. Yeah. So, and I like those goals. I thought about it last year, like right after I finished. I was like, next year, like somebody, like, I think it'd be cool if there were 3 in the top 10. I think it would be cool if one of us was on the overall podium. And like, it was like a fleeting thought, probably like a week after the race. I wasn't even signed up for the race at that point. And it's like been this, like, I don't know, like this voice in my brain of just like, that is what I hope for this race is like that we really demonstrate our skills as a gender in this distance, because I think, the longer the distance gets, the less it is, obviously there's so much that is physical. Like you have to be fit and you have to be able to run and you have to be durable and you whatever. But like, man, with a multi-day, that crap is all black magic. And like, we don't know what is happening there. And I think like problem solving and attitude and, maybe experience too. Like all of those things are just as important as your physical fitness is. And so I think that the field is just so much more level, the longer and harder things get, because it's not just like who can run as fast, like who's running the fastest they can. It's who is managing themselves well enough to get to the finish line first.
Our long-term listeners will be like, "Oh, Dave says that sort of stuff as well."
Oh, really?
So yeah, I'm a big fan of. I say that once you go to the ultra distance, it's not if something goes wrong; it's how many things, and how do you navigate them, and that just gets compounded and exponential as you go longer and longer and longer and longer. So
yeah, I heard a thing that was this is when I was training for my first Cocodona. I was like asking because I was terrified. I was like, how do I do this? And somebody said that in a 100-miler, you know that there's a variety of things that could go wrong, and one of them will in a 100-miler. In a 200-miler, every one of them will go wrong at some point, which kind of is nice because it takes out the guesswork. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, cool, everything will go wrong. All right. Now I just get to find out when. But yeah, so I think the level-headedness and management of your issues is like very important.
So a couple of Cocodona specific questions. How many times do you brush your teeth in Cocodona? 250 miles?
Man, at least once a day, which like even saying that feels gross, but I also know that a lot of people don't do that. But yeah, I like to in the evening and in the morning. So kind of akin to what I would be doing in real life, I guess. And I've also found that brushing my teeth feels like a reset.
Yeah.
So like in the mornings, if I'm just like, because I've just slogged my way through the night. So if I brush my teeth in the morning, it's like, cool, I'm just gonna pretend like I just got started.
Those rituals, I think, have more weight on our psychology than people think.
I think so too.
How much do you sleep during like Cocodona, or do you have a sleep plan? Talk us through sleep, because there's different people have different things here. Different
people have, and I don't want to give Mike's plan away, but we were chatting about sleep, and he has a really interesting sleep strategy this year that I told him, I was like, I cannot wait to see how this plays out. Because it could be the answer, or it could be like not the answer. So we'll see. But my strategy historically has been just sleep when you're tired, no more than 20 minutes. I think I'm really going to try to only take dirt naps this year. Cause again, if my motto is don't get in the van, then like, I don't know. It just eats up so much time. And I did a nap in the van last year where like I laid down and I just like, I don't know how restful that sleep actually was, to be honest with you. It was nice to lie down, but like, and that was 20 minutes. And then, 5 hours later I was dying, and I just like took a dirt nap and I was good for 5 minutes. So last year I did 25 minutes. The year prior I probably did, I don't remember, like 3 or 4 hours I probably did the previous year.
Yeah. Wow.
But I don't have I don't have a plan. I'll just probably when I'm thinking about I'm also not a spreadsheet person. So like when I'm thinking about my spreadsheet, I'm probably not going to make a spreadsheet. Cause honestly, I do all this work for a spreadsheet, and then like by mile 37, it's like, well, this is all bullshit now. So like, why did I do all this work? So, cause like my times are just like completely off. But when I'm thinking about what time I could potentially get, like I'll probably put like 90 minutes of like availability if I need to sleep. But I don't think I'll need that much. I grew up an insomniac, so I'm pretty good at
not sleeping.
Yeah.
And how much caffeine are you using or abusing during Cocodona?
Not that much actually. I can't remember what. For Mammoth, I only did. Oh, I don't remember. I think it was like 150 milligrams a day.
That is nothing.
For the second day only?
That is absolutely nothing. I have more than that to live.
I know, yeah. So I don't know.
Well,
I just go, man, I go somewhere else when I'm running. Like I become running. And it's just like, well, this is what I'm doing now. And like, we're sleeping when we get to the finish line. And, obviously if I'm dragging, then I'll take caffeine, but I really don't. Yeah, it's funny because I feel like in races, I probably have less caffeine. Like, I mean, I'm drinking a Monster because I'm a trash panda. Um, but yeah, like
a white Monster too.
White Monster. Yes, the best. I wish they would sponsor me, but they won't respond to my DMs. But yeah, I mean, I probably have in racing. I would say I probably have less caffeine than I do in real life.
That is fascinating.
Which is weird. Yeah.
You talked about just then. You mentioned that you sort of just go into race mode, and I envisage particularly Cocodona, which seems a bit different to the other 200 milers. Seems to be a bit of like a fantasy land and a bit of a festival, that sort of thing. I envisage re-entry after something like that being very difficult, particularly if you're not a pro runner, right? So your first year when you're going back to work and stuff. What is re-entry for something like that?
Yeah, I've actually, this will be my first year of not having to go to work the Monday after the race. Tell me about it. And I'm a physical therapist, so like I'm demonstrating how to do stuff and like standing on my feet all day and like working on people who tell me that their back hurts, and I'm just like, you don't know anything. But anyway, not to invalidate their pain, but like, shut up. So anyway, it's, I mean, I don't know, it sucks, but like you just have to do it, And a lot of my patients are really funny and understanding, and like every year that I've done Cocodona, my coworkers have always been like, this is insane. And so like the first year I did Cocodona, we had a whiteboard in my office, and like they would update it. Like they had the live stream on 24/7.
That's awesome.
And like they would update my spot on the whiteboard, and it was really cute. And so when I got back, obviously I was completely fucked, pardon my French, but all my patients were like, no, like, yeah, but all my patients were like, no, like we are just shocked that you're here. And so everybody's pretty understanding, but yeah, it's like, I mean, the biggest thing I think is that I'm so looking forward to, oh my God, is like, I just get to sleep, like afterwards. That's all I want to do, is I just want to like do nothing. Like physically, I usually don't feel that bad. Like I mean, like I probably could run, like a double-digit number, like by Wednesday or Tuesday or whatever. Like I usually physically feel fine. I'm just like, my brain is just scrambled eggs after something like that.
Well, that was my question, is about the psycho-emotional aspects of it, right? When you come back, say, from a holiday, it's really hard to get back into work. When you have something like that, you often have this like almost like a depressive state as a result of like,
it's like a hangover.
Yeah,
it's like a hangover. Yeah, I mean, it's fun because everybody's really invested in like hearing how your experience was. So I get to, and that's fun. Like I get to talk about it, and like people ask goofy questions like, do you pee? It's like, no, I didn't pee for 3 days. What are you talking about? But anyway, so it's fun. I mean, that part is fun. And that kind of keeps the excitement, or I guess it keeps me conscious. But I don't know. I mean, I'm looking, and I mean, Mammoth was fantastic because like I didn't have to leave immediately after the race was over, because I didn't have to go back to work. Like I could hang out, and I could watch Golden Hour, and I could, I don't know. It's just like I can take my time now, and that feels really nice to just like I don't have to rush all the time. I don't have to buy the midnight flight because I can't get PTO, and like I don't have to get up at 6 a.m. to go to work, right? Like, after a 12-hour drive, like that is the kind of stuff that I am just like, thank God I somehow managed to pull this off. Cause it was really, working in health. I mean, I'm sure having any sort of job while you're doing something like this is probably quite hard, but like working in healthcare, it's like a particular type of like hell, working in healthcare while doing multi-day runs. Cause yeah, I mean, like people are trying to tell you about their problems, and like they're looking to you to like advise them. And it's like, buddy, I haven't slept in like a week. And like, I can't feel my legs. So let me tell you how to like relax, you know? Yeah, it's a funny dichotomy for sure.
But it sort of
But yeah.
dovetails into what I wanted to ask you earlier on. How do you deal with ease their pressure now that you're a pro? Like, because you do have a very relaxed attitude and you don't want rigidity by the looks of things. And okay, trail running is a lot more relaxed than other sports, but sponsors do want return on investment. So how do you deal with that? Do you feel a pressure?
Um, I don't think I've really felt pressure more so than usual, if I'm being honest. I've wanted to do my best at the things I sign up for. Um, and I think, I'm really fortunate. I have a great group of folks in my corner who I have absolutely zero race expectations. They do not expect me to do anything.
Are you talking
And
sponsors or friends or all of the above?
sponsors. Sorry, yes, sponsors. So my sponsors, I mean, there's not like, all right, you have to do Western States this year. Like you have to do UTMB. Like you whatever. Like there's no obligations on my end to do any races, which is great. And there's also, I mean, obviously there's incentives to do certain ones, and there's incentives to place and perform well. But like incentives or not, I've been wanting to do that for free.
Yeah, no one enters a race to not place. No one's like, geez, I'd hate to get on the podium this year. It'd be terrible.
No. Yeah. So I mean, I've been pleasantly surprised at how little, because I was also really worried about like, well, once I'm a professional, am I gonna hate it? Like now that it's a job, will I hate it or something? Like I've kicked that can around for a while, just like how is this actually gonna be? But I've been pleasantly surprised at like I actually just love this. I think it's so sick. I just get to like go run around for my profession. Like that's absolutely awesome.
No,
it really does.
You're paid to do this. This is the thing.
I know.
You're not paid to run or train or race.
Exactly.
You're paid to do all the other garbage, podcasts
Exactly.
and media and responding to emails.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's kind of what I said in that, I think in the Chianti pre thing is like, I'm not paid to run. I'm paid to like, yeah, do everything else. I'm paid to manage my emotional state. I'm paid to deal with pressure. I'm paid to do podcasts. Like the running, I continue to like espouse the idea that I run for free. I just happen to get paid for results.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a great take. I have one last question, and then Xylon can ask his last one. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. I'm sure you've heard of Tour de Geants because it's like the big one.
The one.
Does it appeal to you at all?
Duh. Of course it does. Of course it does.
Is that the last one you do? Because everyone says, and I have this on good authority from people who've done it, that it's the one you do before you quit running because it makes you want to quit.
Oh,
running.
I hope not. I don't want to do that. Then maybe I'll do it in like 20 years or 50 years because I don't want to quit running for a long time. But I'm super interested. And actually it's funny because Annie Hughes, I'm so envious of Annie Hughes this year because I think she's doing the TDS Tour de Géant double. And that's like something that I thought about doing.
Oh.
And obviously this year is just, while I do not have expectations from my sponsors, I also want to do a good job. And I want to like, okay, you've taken a chance on me. Like I'll do something for you. And so obviously I'm doing UTMB and I want to do well at it. And I do actually think that that will be a really good, not that Tour de Géants is like the end all be all goal. Like I want to do UTMB because I want to do UTMB. Like that race sounds cool. I think it'll complement my skills well. So I just want to see how that goes. And I assume that probably I never expect to stick things on the first try. And so I assume that I'll probably want to do it one more time over the next like couple years. But I think it's a really good, I mean, it's in the same general area as Tour. And so it's like, well, that's probably like, if I do UTMB or if I do like Swiss Peaks, the 200 Swiss Peaks one, like that's probably a good like warm up for Tour. Cause I mean, that race sounds 80,000 feet of, like that's bananas. So, I mean, yeah, I want to do that.
And then you get to do the real big boy, the Tour de Glacier, afterwards.
Whew, so. Yeah. Actually, maybe Annie's doing Tour de Glacier. I don't remember.
Well, how far is it? Do you know? Is it 200 miles or is it more like 300 miles?
I don't remember.
Okay, because Tour is 330 kilometers, which is just over 200 miles, and then Tour de Glacier is 450 k's.
Yeah, that's insane.
So far.
That's insane. I mean, Tour definitely, man, that just seems really like it would be an enlightening experience.
We'll offline about this.
Okay. Cool.
Well,
have either of you done it?
I have helped someone prepare for it and seen him afterwards, and I've got 2 or 3 other friends who've done it as well.
Okay, yeah, let's talk. Because I mean, I would, if I'm being completely honest with myself, I think I would like to be on that start line within 5 years. That feels reasonable. Because I definitely think I need more European experience. I need more Alp experience. I honestly I live in Colorado, so like, heck yeah. But I think I need a lot more like off trail, straight up, like go do Nolan's kind of stuff in order. Because, again, I don't want to sign up for something and just go in completely unprepared. And I think doing something like Tour or, well, I guess Tour, because you can't do Tour de Glacier without doing Tour. I don't know. I'm not sure that I feel like my skill set is very comparable to something like UTMB. I do not think that I'm necessarily ready for something like Tour. So yeah, I would just want to be ready. And I think I can be ready within 3 to 5 years is my guess.
Well, Rachel, it was great having you here. I mean, I take my hat off to you. I don't know how you do the things that you do. Honestly, it blows my mind.
Oh, yeah, I don't either. Yeah, white monsters and a prayer. Yeah.
No, and I absolutely love people who are like you, who are so good at what they do, and then your attitude towards it. I like that. To me, is just another skill. Like, it's amazing. I love it. So, thanks for coming on here and chatting to us. Yeah,
thank you guys. And yeah, attitude is a skill that you can practice just like anything else. So I think that's like the number one thing that the last couple years has taught me. I talked about it before, but the 24 to 25 Cocodona, attitude was the most important skill that I wanted to improve on. So thank you for saying that, because I am really happy with how things have shaken out, and I'm happy with the person that I've become in the sport. I can't remember who it was I was talking to about this, but the idea that it's easy for anyone is just not true. And so, yeah, it's again, we don't do it because it's easy. We do it because it's challenging. And so, choosing to have a positive attitude and choosing to enjoy what you're doing while you're out there is a skill that you can practice just like anything else. So
I love that. Yeah. Absolutely love that. Yeah. That's where we're going to end it, because we can't get better than that. I've got links in the show notes. Yeah. I've got links in the show notes to your Strava for people to follow the 5 or 6 times a week that you use your watch. I've got links to your Substack, which includes the Chianti, the article that we talked about. I've got a link to your Instagram where people can follow you along, and they will follow you. I know, having spoken to a couple of previous guests and spoken to some of our listeners, they do enjoy going to follow people. That's why we release this before the race. And then there's also a link to an article you wrote about training for 200 milers. And I think there's some really interesting stuff in there for people. Maybe there's someone who's interested in a 200 miler. I don't think there are too many in our listenership, but maybe. But nonetheless, I think it's a good article anyway. There's lots to take away from it if you just are interested in this field and how to think about it. So, Rachel, thank you so much. Really appreciate you joining us. We will be following along Cocodona. We're going to reserve the rights to at least get a voice note from you when you finish and win it again.
Yeah. Shoot me a message.
If not, come back. If not, come back on. Yes, thank you so much.
It's my job. It's my job to come back on. So let me know if you want me back on. I don't mind.
We'll get you. We got you 6 a.m. the morning after Cocodona for your shift. Is that okay?
Yeah. Oh, one more story. So I was working last year, and I had an alarm for my job that I wasn't going to because I was off that week. And so every morning it would just go off, and I was like, whatever, I'm already I'm running this race, whatever. And like, it just didn't compute to me that the morning after I was done running, I forgot to turn it off.
Oh no.
And my alarm went off at 5 a.m. And I was just like, oh my God. And then And I had managed to like not open social media and like not. I just when I finished, I got dinner with my family. I took a shower. I went to sleep, and like that was it. But yeah, I woke up at 5 a.m. and I like was awake, and I opened social media, and my phone just crashed, and I was like, okay, like I'm obviously not going to go back to sleep right now. And so yeah, I got like 4 hours of sleep.
Brutal.
So anyway, this year I don't have any alarms, so it's not.
Well, careful you don't set one on your Coros that you don't know how to turn off.
Oh my god, yeah. That would be something I would do. So thank you for your concern.
Well, we are looking forward to following along, Rachel. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me on.
You and I had the same takeaway from Rachel. She comes across as very lackadaisical, very easygoing when it comes to her approach and her structure to training. But when you dig a level deeper, that's probably not the case, right?
Yeah, I think I said this during the interview with her and Courtney as well. There's a lot more method to the madness. It's organized chaos. It's not chaos. She's obviously trains very hard. There's no question. She does a lot of running. Maybe she doesn't plan her speed sessions, but she'll go run with somebody and run quite hard. I think on some level this shows a couple of things. She's obviously succeeding in long stuff, and we'll talk about the constraints of that and why her training may make some sense there. But also probably that we can overcomplicate things at times. Like go out, run lots. Sometimes you need to run harder. Okay, that's probably enough. Now we can get more specific if you want, but I'm not sure how much of a difference that makes. I think we believe that makes more difference than it does. But yeah, she's certainly more sophisticated in her training than she lets on. She's obviously preparing for chaos. You have no idea what's coming. She's preparing to deal with chaos and problem solving and all those things. That's why she does FKTs, unsupported, all that stuff. And she's also clearly got an iron gut. We sort of alluded to this. It's like, yeah, just put the stuff in my pack and I'll eat it. Like most people can't do that. So I think having an iron gut, a positive attitude, a problem solving ability, and being ready for chaos is why she can then perform at the level she does. So yeah, I really appreciate her joining us. What did you take away from it, mate?
I really enjoyed it. She said in her races, she just really gets in her own world and disappears for however long the race takes. And I saw footage of her racing Cocodona, and that is exactly it. She seemed like she was in her own space, no one else around there, like a metronome, one foot in front of the other, just totally focused. It was like poetry in motion. Like I can see why she's a winner, and that she spoke about how much she enjoys that, just getting lost out there. Yeah. So yeah, very interesting.
I also like the self-awareness she showed. I wondered if this would be different when I was a pro. I wondered if racing in there would be different. I wonder if my watch will mess with my head. Like, strongly doubt it, but yeah, there's a good chance that it's cool that she's thinking that way. I like it.
Thanks again to Precision Fuel and Hydration for facilitating that. Really cool to chat to her. Should we get to the doctor's office? It seems packed this week, man. We spoke about him earlier. Magnus Ditlev is in the doctor's office.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a little bit of a late one, but he did not race Ironman Texas because he had shingles.
Oh, so, I've had the shingles a few times. Painful.
Very. So this is a virus. It's the same virus as the chickenpox. It sits dormant in the spinal nerve root and gets reactivated with stress. So interestingly, Tyrese Halliburton, basketball superstar, coming back off an Achilles, has recently had a case as well. So yeah, thought I'd mention that one. We also have, it's marathon season, so everyone's in here. All the marathoners are in here. So Fiona O'Keefe was a scratching from Boston that went by with her hamstring that wasn't quite right. And then London has got, we got a full office here. Ava Crean, which we spoke about before, young Irish girl who ran really well. She was meant to come to London. She's out with a hip issue, hoping that's not bone stress, but it's not a lot of stuff that goes wrong with your hips. So yeah, let's see. Emile Caress is out of London with a calf issue that hampered his build up a little bit, which means Alex Yee isn't running either because Alex Yee was going to pace him. So
do you know that for a fact, or are you just assuming?
So mutual connection of ours, Ed, bumped into him over the weekend when Ed was out cycling, and I think he said that to Ed. And then I checked the app for tracking, and he's not there. So maybe he will still pace, but I strongly doubt it. I've got a feeling he's not pacing. I could be wrong, but I mean, pacing's pacing. So it's not going to be a factor in the race anyway. He's not going to finish it. And then Paris Jepchirchir is out of London as well. So she's still not good coming back from her stress fracture. So I wonder how far off she was and whether she was like close and then decided not to, or if it's just publicity. saying like, yeah, I'll come. Like, when the person says, hey, will you come run London? She's like, listen, I got the stress here. I'll say yes, but I'm actually not coming. Like, I always wonder if there's a little bit of like, why don't we just slink you a couple bucks for you to say you're coming so that we're a bit more excited about the race? I don't know. Maybe I'm being cynical here, but yeah.
That's possible. You being cynical, I mean, it's possible.
That's likely. That's likely, mate. That's not possible. That's likely.
Okay, let's get out of here. Before we do, what are we watching this weekend? I haven't even had time to think about this weekend. This week has been crazy busy, and as I alluded to in the beginning of the podcast with Rachel, that I'm getting a puppy this weekend, so that'll be busy. I'll be watching that. Probably won't have time for anything else.
Please send me some video. But I will be watching London, mate. You should watch London. It's a couple hours. It's pretty good.
No, I always enjoy watching London. I'll watch Liège-Bastogne-Liège cycling this weekend.
I didn't know that was on.
Yeah. Football, the running now, last 5 games of the season, so crunch time. I'll actually be watching the championship to see if Wrexham, Ryan Reynolds' football team, gets promoted to the Premier League. They've done what no other team has done before. They've got 3 promotions in a row, and if they make it to the Premier League, for a 4th promotion for a team that he paid like £5 for. I'm being facetious, but he paid nothing for that team. That would be incredible.
He's paid some for the upgrade, I'll tell you that much. But are you going to jump ship, mate? Leave United? Go follow Wrexham?
Never. Maybe have that second team you root for because of their storytelling. They have, the characters. They rope you in. No chance. I've been watching Man United since I was like 3 years old, man. Ain't happening now.
Well, it's like the Titimo Rockets. Everyone's second favorite team in cycling because it's such good social.
Exactly. Okay, thanks for putting this together, David. Thank you to every single person who listened, streamed, shared this episode. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, do so now. We really appreciate every single one of you. And as always, we drop a new episode every single Friday. We'll catch you on the next one.
Talk soon, mate.